I know that if you own a shop, one of the things that you wish for is that insurance companies would pay your full estimate upfront the first time, right? It would be like Christmas every day, many times a day. Well, on today's episode, I have a guest, Walt Silmon. He's got a shop out in Louisiana, and he is actually working with the insurance companies. And the way that he's doing it, he's getting paid for the full estimate. Maybe not the first time, but he's got some things figured out. And I've seen him post in some Facebook groups about his wins, and it's super exciting to see that this can actually happen. If it can happen for him, it can happen for you. So stay tuned and learn more from my buddy, Walt.
Welcome to Body Bangin', your podcast for all things body. Auto body, that is. And now, introducing Body Bangin's host, Mickey Woods of Mickey Woods Marketing. Mickey is a former auto collision center owner and is now a marketing and business development expert to shops across the globe.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to today's episode of the Body Bangin' Podcast. On today's episode, we have my friend Walt Silmon. Hi, Walt.
Hi.
He's coming to us from Louisiana.
Louisiana.
I love to say that. Louisiana. From West Monroe. Where's West Monroe in Louisiana?
Interstate 20 going across the states. Just look at Louisiana, Interstate 20, smack dab in the middle of the state, a hair to the east. That's where we're at right there.
Okay. All right. Yep. Cool. Yep. So Walt owns Redeemed Auto Body, and he's owned it for the last couple of years. And before that, he's been collectively in the industry for 15 years. So he opened up his own shop. And the reason why I wanted to have Walt on today is not only is he super fun, which you will find. Yeah, right. He's kind of crazy, just like me. But we were talking a lot, and we talk to a lot of different people in the industry, and everybody's struggling with getting paid what they feel like they should get paid to fix and repair a vehicle properly. And Walt and I have become friends through a few different ways. And I saw that he posted in one of our mutual Facebook groups about a vehicle and actually getting paid, which you're supposed to get paid. And so I said, well, come and talk about this on my podcast. Yeah. So he was kind enough to show up today. So tell us just a little bit about that car. Because for all of you that are wanting to kind of go head to head with insurance companies and say hey, give them some pushback. No, this is what it takes. This is the cost. I should get paid this. I get so many questions of where do I start? So Walt, share with us a little bit about this specific vehicle.
This job, it wasn't a big job. It wasn't a crazy job. It was replace the bumper, replace the fender, replace the headlight, blend the door, blend the hood. Easy. It's a gravy job, as some people would say.
Right.
The thing with it, this was, I guess I'll say Geico. It was a Geico claim. Yes. Not to say anything bad about Geico, but it's a Geico claim. So let's just be honest. So we know our P pages. We charge for our labor. We charge for our materials. We're very thorough. We read through the OEM manufacturer repair procedures. We're very thorough, and we document it on our itemized invoice. We call it an invoice. We don't call it an estimate.
Nice.
Because an estimate is an insurance company writes an estimate.
Right.
We prepare an invoice for the cost of repair.
Right. I like that.
Yeah. So as most insurance companies do, they go, hey, what's wrong? We don't pay for this. We don't pay for that. Why are you charging this? What? I've never even heard about that. Da, 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 da. Oh, the customer's like, well, what do we do, man? There's you're charging this. They're only paying for this. What do we do? I'm like, well, look, let's just have a conversation around the car. The car's done. Well, let's all schedule a time for all of us to talk about it. So,
well, first of all, how often does that happen that you can get everybody all together?
Well, when the customer is creating enough of a stink to make it happen, it's going to happen. It was his policy too. It's a first party claim.
Okay.
So that that helps the insurance company want to come out and take care of business because it's their own policy holder.
Right.
But so it was me, the vehicle owner, the adjuster, and the adjuster's boss.
Okay.
All standing around this vehicle. And I have all my paperwork out for all the things that they didn't want to pay for.
Right.
I had documents from a paint manufacturer. I had excerpts from the P pages. We write in CCC. So I had a lot of CCC documents with a lot of highlighted fields. And it was basically a conversation of, here's what we're charging. Here's what you guys have paid out. And I can't really tell you what you guys aren't wanting to pay for. When the customer asks me what they're not paying for, I don't have that answer because it's not my decision what they're not wanting to pay for.
Right.
I think a lot of the times the insurance companies will just not pay for something and expect the shop to either eat it or explain to the customer why it's not being paid. But I have no idea why they're not paying it.
Right.
So in essence, let's have this little show and tell session right here. Tell me what you're not wanting to pay for, and I can tell you why it's needed. Here's documents to prove it. Right. Like clean and detail vehicle. I mean, they just, all those insurance companies, they freak out when they see that. So what I did on this job, I left the car dirty. We put the car together. We sanded them, buffed, and did all the nasty stuff.
Right.
And it's just like the hood, the fender, the bumper, and the door. They look great, but the rest of the car is just trash.
Right.
It's got repair debris all over it.
Right.
And the guy's like, well, clean and detail. We don't pay for that. I'm like, look at the car. He's like, well, you hadn't cleaned it? I'm like, no, I wanted you to see that it was dirty.
Right. And this is why we need to clean it.
Yeah. And then I showed him the P page in CCC where it says in the labor premise of all the non-included, just the general non-included labor in CCC, detail vehicle. I mean, even CCC addresses that it's not included in any of the labor. You'll hear a lot of insurance companies say, well, that's included in the labor times. That's included in the labor times. No, that's not in CCC at least.
Right.
So you show them a dirty vehicle. You show them where CCC says it's not included. I mean, how do you argue against that in front of the customer? Right. That's the key. That's the key. An insurance guy is not going to lie in front of the customer. Not to say that all insurance adjusters and representatives lie, but that's not an easy battle for them to win.
Right.
When I have proof that something needs to be done, and I have proof of the breakdown of my charges that makes sense to everybody, how can they argue against that?
Right. Well, I think one of the big issues, though, is most of the conversations go on either through email or on the phone. So you don't even get to see the person. They don't even ever actually lay hands on the car, let alone get like a 3-way, 4-way conversation with the car there. Right. Are you still able to get the same results, even having to talk about things via email and phone calls?
Yeah, for sure. It does make it more challenging, but at the same time, email is almost the best way to go because you have a paper trail. You don't have he said, she said.
Right.
You can copy the customer into your email.
Right.
And that's what I do with every job. At the very beginning, after I've done my consultation with the customer and gone over everything with them, if I send everything to the insurance company, I tag them in the email so they can see. And I ask the insurance company, please copy the customer in your response and the further conversation that we're going to have, just so they can see what's being said.
Right.
That keeps everybody in check, and it keeps it's just a transparent process. It's the customer's car.
Right.
We're a shop. We're just here to fix the car. The insurance company is here to financially protect them. We shouldn't be doing anything behind their back. They should be knowing everything that's going on. And emails is the best way to keep them in line with seeing everything that's happening. So, and in emails, you can put in PDFs and photos, and all this wonderful information you can highlight, and everything that I did with that adjuster in person, you can do through email.
Now, how do your customers like that? Do they appreciate being kept in the loop, or do you have any that are like, take me off, I don't care?
Well, I mean, I forewarn them. I'm like, hey, I'm going to send all this stuff to him. I'm going to copy into the email. I explained to him the importance of this is your car. You need to understand what's happening.
Okay.
There shouldn't be a problem, but if there is, at least you'll know about it.
Right.
And so one thing that Barrett teaches me, and I'm a client of Barrett Smith, Auto Damage Experts. I've been with him for about 9 months now. And the main goal is to change the behavior of the insurance companies. They don't want the customer to be involved. They don't want the customer to be educated because it gives them a fighting chance to get away with not paying for stuff.
Right.
When the customer doesn't know, they're going to be like, this company that I've been with for 20 years that I've been paying money to, the good hands or the good neighbor and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
They automatically trust them more than they trust me.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do reviews. I handle reviews for a lot of my clients that I do marketing for. And I see a lot of reviews that will come in for shops that aren't kind of setting the stage like you're talking about. And they'll say, well, the shop wanted to overcharge my insurance company. And the shop is wanting to raise the prices because they're only hearing one side of the story because insurance says this. So I think it's really important. And, you get that feedback a few times and you realize, I got to set this up, right? I got to tee this up, right?
Something's got to change because this sucks. Everybody thinks I'm this overcharging weirdo just trying to take advantage of everybody. It's a terrible place to be.
Totally. So I appreciate you're doing that with your customers, and then they appreciate it. Because, you don't know what you don't know, and the customer doesn't, or our guests, they don't know what they don't know.
That's the thing. Look, the average consumer never thinks about a body shop. Nobody ever thinks about having to go to a body shop. They don't think about collision. Nobody knows anything about this stuff.
No.
And when they get in a wreck, it's traumatic. No matter how small or big of a wreck it is, it's still traumatic. It's an inconvenience. It's just a terrible thing. And nobody wants to have to deal with it. Nobody wants to have to get their car fixed. Nobody's itching to come to my shop. I'll tell you that.
Right.
So, and let's say they've been paying a company for 20 years. They're going to be on their side. They don't know me at all, so they're probably going to side with the insurance company when the insurance company says, oh, he's just being excessive and overcharging. Nobody charges this. He's the only one that I've ever seen this from, blah, 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 blah. And they're going to be like, yeah, Walt, what's up with you, man? Why are you charging all this crap? I'm like, oh, well, that's a terrible place to be. And and because I know that it's a terrible place to be because I've been there. It stinks. You want to charge for your services. You want to do the right thing and follow the OEM procedures and and have a 5,000 line estimate, to replace a headlight bulb. But, if the customer doesn't know about it, you're just going to seem like a crook.
Right.
They're going to think
you've got to build that trust with them. Well, let me go back. Sorry, because I kind of took you off on a little tangent, but back to the original car we were talking about that claim. So you got everybody around. And you didn't have it washed, and you went over all the P pages and the manufacturer protocol and all of that kind of stuff with them. I assume that they were much more friendly with you with the customer being there. Was it still something that you felt like they were still kind of dug in on?
The adjuster guy, he's cool. Like me and him, we probably small talk more than we talk about the actual job when he comes to my shop. He's a cool dude, but his boss, he was just, I don't know if he was having a bad day or if I really just rubbed him the wrong way, but he would get really loud. He would overtalk. Whenever I would start explaining something, he would stop paying attention to me. He would start looking around and acting like look on his phone. He was being disrespectful. And I don't like confrontation. I'm not that kind of guy. I just want to be cool with everybody. So it's uncomfortable for me, but at the same time, I can use that to my advantage when somebody's being like that, being disrespectful, being loud in front of the customer. The customer sees that too.
Right. That's right.
And whenever this is my business, this is my shop, I'm going to be professional. I want to keep my tone down. I'm just going to be informative. I'm going to ask questions. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to try to butt in. The customer's going to see that.
Right.
And he's going to see this guy pitching a fit over stuff that I have proof that needs to be done.
Right.
And the guy's trying to overtalk me and control the whole conversation. The customer's going to see that, and he's going to maybe be on my side a little bit more and maybe hear my side of things. And when the customer starts talking, that's where the magic happens.
Right.
Because the customer will be like, so you mean to tell me we don't have to wash this car? And man, it's just like the insurance guy will be like, well, yeah, just put it on there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, we're not going to pay for OEM parts. My customer said, well, Ford says you have to use OEM parts. And that guy was like, no, they don't. I was like, well, hold on real quick.
Yeah.
I said, I got this piece of paper right here. And I had it highlighted and it said safety, warranty, all these wonderful words that talk about if you don't use OEM parts, Ford says all these crazy things about safety. And and he was like, oh, well, wow. And my customer's just sitting there looking at him. He's like, yeah, just put OEM parts. I'm like, all right, cool.
Okay. Yeah.
So
and it was like somewhere.
So after doing that on about 4 or 5 operations, he just told the adjuster, man, just put everything on there. Put OEM parts on there, put everything on there. We're not going to do this all the time. We're just going to do it on this one. I'm like, all right, cool. It's cool, man. And he said, well, the only thing we're not going to do is we're not going to pay your labor rates. Like, well,
that was my next question.
So what was your question about that? What do we do about the labor rates?
Well, what do you do? Because oftentimes your rates are not going to be the rates that they want to pay. So
no, not at all.
So how are you handling that?
So a tool that I use, National Auto Body Research, Billable Genie.
Yeah. Had him on the podcast.
Yeah. I use them so I can actually pull up the rates for the state, the averages. I can even pull up the shops in my area within a 25-mile radius.
Right.
And my labor rates are actually just a hair lower than a couple of the shops in town.
Okay.
And the customer knew this before these guys even showed up because I sent all this stuff to him. I sent all this stuff to my customers at the very beginning.
Okay.
So he knew that my rates are very competitive.
Right.
I'm 67 for body and paint. Geico was only wanting to pay 60.
Right.
They just weren't budging. I was like, oh, well, our rates are our rates, man. I mean, this is what it costs for us to do business. Like,
now, are you on their program?
No, I'm not I don't have a contract with any insurance company.
Okay. I assume so, but I wanted to put that out there. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Right. Yeah. Not that I'm like anti-DRP or anything like that.
Yeah.
But it's just not my thing.
Right.
I wouldn't make it because I'll take too long and I'll cost too much.
Yeah.
That's just two things they freaking hate.
Yes.
That's a whole nother podcast right there. So we're going to leave it at that.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
So in this case with the labor rates, he said, well, we're going to pay all this. We're not paying the rates. The customer was like, why not? Well, these are the rates we pay, and everybody blah 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 blah. Everybody charges. Everybody accepts it, and all that ruckus that he said. Customer paid the difference. It wasn't a big difference. It was like $300. So I mean, it's not too bad for a $6,000 job.
Wow!
If all he had to pay was $300, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
I gave him the receipt for his payment. And I guess he emailed Geico that receipt and talked to the boss's boss. And they sent him a check. They reimbursed him for his out-of-pocket expense.
Yes.
So the claim essentially was paid in full.
Wow. That's awesome.
Then a month later in our area, Geico went from $60 an hour body and refinish to $68 an hour body and refinish. In like a month. It just happened.
Wow.
So I'm sitting here going, I bet I had something to do with that. You're welcome, guys. Take them one for just take one for the team, you guys. Just pizza party over here this week. Come on.
Yeah. That's really cool. I'm going to interrupt this podcast for just one quick second because a lot of people wonder, Mickey, what is it that you even do besides host a podcast? Well, I do marketing, and really the biggest thing that I do is help you drive more traffic to your business. And not even just more traffic, but consistent traffic to your business. As a former shop owner, I know how important that is. So if that's something you're interested in, or you just want to talk about marketing or developing your business in general, feel free to reach out. You can visit collisioncentermarketing.com. There's a calendar on there, and you can just book a time that works for you, and we'll set up a phone call. Or you can email or call me, and my notes are down in the description of this episode. But I hope to hear from you. I'd love to help you build your business. But in the meantime, you better get back to this podcast because it's really good.
Look, I guess I've thought about coming on this podcast ever since you told me about it. And I've been thinking about some things. And I think like the two main points, if I had to tell anybody that owns a shop, that's running a shop, that wants to do something different, is run your business like any other business in America. Let's say a hot dog stand. How much do your buns and the meat cost? How much is your overhead? Well, here's how much a hot dog, a bag of chips, and a Coke should cost at Walt's hot dog stand.
Right.
This is how much it should cost.
Right.
Well, guess what? We're going to charge that when we sell the hot dogs, chips, and a Coke. All right, it's $10 for this package deal. All right, $10. Here you go. Everybody's buying hot dogs. $10.
Right.
You go and pay for a service. They charge you. You pay for it. You leave. Boom.
Right.
Collision repair. Write up the sheet. Here's what Ford says to do. We're going to use OEM parts. Here's a breakdown of all the charges, customer. Let's say we have the car in the shop and it's all taken apart and we're blueprinting it and doing it the right way.
Right.
You call the customer and be like, hey, here's what we found. Here's an itemized list of what it takes to fix your car. Here's the total amount. What do you say? They're like, well,
you eating your hot dog or you leaving?
Yeah, I know, right? You won't relish with that? I got somebody behind you. Get out of the way.
Yeah.
But it's basic business. Like, here's how much it costs to fix your car.
Right.
Here's why it costs this much to fix your car.
Right.
Here's documents to support that. It's not just me. It's not my opinion. Here's what Ford says. Here's what Bell says. Here's what PPG says. Here's what everybody says. Here's what seam sealer cost me. Here's what this toner cost me. You break it down to them. Say, this is how much it costs. Would you like us to proceed with repairs? You want us to turn it into insurance and see what they say? And it's the customer's bill. It's the customer's car. It's the customer's bill. The insurance company should have no part of that. It's a transaction between you and the customer. Right.
I saw a debate about that on, I think it was LinkedIn I think it was a Facebook group.
Yeah.
That they were like, who's ultimately responsible? And people were saying the insurance company. Body shops were saying the insurance company. And I was like, what?
A friend of mine, Clay Hobright, he's done some small claims court cases. And I remember him telling me, he's like, I was in one time and the judge asked the insurance company, are you dictating repairs? And they were like, oh, no. We're just a financial institution.
Right.
We just pay the bill.
We're just the bank.
We're not trying to tell anybody how to do anything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, cool. Sweet. So they're basically just a bank. They're a paper company.
Right.
How dare we allow them to dictate how we run our business, what we should charge, how we should fix your car.
Right.
It's insane. And the DRP kind of mindset, signing contracts with them, kind of letting the insurance company get a foot in your door, telling you what to do and how to do it and how to charge, is over the past couple of decades. Here we are now having to talk about stuff like this. I think collision repair is one of the few industries where it's just so upside down, where
it is in a lot of ways.
Yeah. It almost seems impossible to run your business like any other business in America.
Yeah.
It's just really tough.
Yeah.
But
I agree with you.
Yeah. But the power is in the customer, the vehicle owner.
Right.
Because I can't make the insurance company do a damn thing. I can't.
We've all tried.
Yeah. I mean, look, body shops can't make insurance companies do anything.
No, but what do you think about this? Don't you agree, or maybe you don't agree, that getting along with an insurance company and being respectful and, like you said, creating a friendship with the guy that is coming into your shop every once in a while, don't you think that is so helpful?
Dude, it's one of the greatest things you can do.
Yes.
And let's go back to what Barrett told me. What he trains me to do is you need to change their behavior. They're not going to change their behavior if they don't respect you. And if you want somebody to respect you, you show them respect.
Yeah.
And you be a respectable person.
Right.
All your interactions need to be professional.
Yeah.
You know, if they raise their voice, don't raise your voice. You know, like kill them with kindness in a way. That's me. This is how I work now. I know there's a lot of hotheads out there that run shops and, you know, they cuss and pitch a fit over things. But I've found that just talking to them, they're human beings too. You know, like
I agree with that.
They have kids, they got a family, they got a house, they got bills to pay for. They're doing their job just as much as I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
And we can both agree to disagree. Like I have one Monday morning. I showed up to work, checked my email. American National Property and Casualty paid one in full. They a one-line concession to pay the claim in full.
Nice.
And a week ago, me and the boss, he was one of the biggest jerks I've ever talked to in my life.
Oh, wow.
Like there was no having a decent conversation with this guy.
Right.
And I was, and I kept reassuring him, said, hey man, look, I don't mean any disrespect. I'm not trying to be ugly. Like I have nothing against you guys. I just want to have a decent conversation about the claim.
Right.
Like, can you just let me know what you disagree with? And I can at least voice my opinion.
Right.
And give you some facts. And he was just not having it.
Wow.
Like this dude was just being just hard to deal with.
Yeah.
But I kept my composure. I tried to reassure him, I'm not taking this personally.
Yeah.
Like just American National might not be able to pay for some things. Just put it in paper, like why you can't pay for it.
Right.
And let the customer know. As long as the customer's cool with it, then just let them know. Don't let me know. It doesn't matter to me. My bill's my bill. Let the customer know.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the key. Let the customer know. Let the customer know why you're not paying for something and why they're having to pay for something.
Right. Yeah.
And then I checked my email Monday and paid in full. Get it out of here.
Awesome.
Then I had another one, American National, that left today, paid in full.
Nice.
And I'm just like, what happened? Like, maybe he's turning around. Maybe the next conversation will be a little bit better. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I think it's super important to be professional, have a clean shop, be organized.
Yeah.
We set appointments for all insurance companies to come to the shop. Because we want to be prepared for them to make it easier for them to see what they need to see, for us to be prepared to provide them documentation and to show them broken parts and stuff. When they show up to a clean office that smells not like a fart. And
what a pleasure.
I know, right? I'm just old Southern boy from Louisiana. That's how we talk down here.
Such good manners.
Yeah, right. And he walks into the shop. It's organized. There's not a radio blaring music, and everybody's just working and doing their thing. And the car's sitting right there with all the parts in front of it, and you have your paperwork ready, and you guys can just get down to business and efficiently go over everything in a professional manner.
Yeah.
And then I'm just a personal guy. I'm like, what can I pick this guy's brain on that will get him talking about things other than cars?
Right.
It's like that Geico adjuster guy that I told you about. Like we talk about TV shows and movies.
Right.
I'm like, hey man. I'm like, yeah, since we're done. Hey, what Netflix show have you been watching lately? He's like, oh man, let me tell you about this. Da, 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 da. I'm like, oh really? Me and my wife have been watching this one. You should check it out. I've never heard about that. And then it's fun. And look,
it's relationship.
Yeah. I mean, this is other people doing their thing, just like I'm somebody doing my thing. Look, we can butt heads and be jerks, or we can get along and make it a great experience every time. Yeah. I want insurance adjusters to leave my shop and be like, man, they sure did kick our butt, but that Walt guy, he sure is cool. like he's an all right guy. I just hate that he's so good at what he does. No.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, the relationships and being professional is super important.
Yeah. Well, and you had mentioned two things that you had been thinking of, because I know we had to let people head on off to whatever the heck else they're going to be doing. But you said you were thinking about doing the podcast. You had two things you want to talk about.
Yeah.
The first was running your business like any other business.
Yeah. Run your business like any other business.
And what's your second?
The second one is the customer needs to be involved.
Okay.
You got to educate your customer. And fixing cars is very complex nowadays. Mm-hmm. Multiple substrates, safety features, electronics, luxury things that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
I mean, if you cut a glass out, it might not be reusable, non-reusable clips. Just like we fixed an Acura this past week. The bumper just had a little bit of damage on it, but we couldn't fix it because there's a blind spot sensor right there. We had to get a new bumper, had to get on a tow truck and go an hour away to go to the dealer. I mean, it's a $5,500 bumper job.
Yeah.
And the customer's like, they called me like, wow, man, that's really steep. Like, wow, that's 50. Are they going to pay for them? Well, let's talk about it real quick. And I'm on the phone with this customer. I send them a Google Drive link of all the information for their car. Okay. It contains photos. It contains position statements from the manufacturer, and it also contains all the repair procedures regarding what we're doing to their vehicle. Mm-hmm. So on this Acura, I'm on the phone with the husband. This is the wife's car now, but the husband, going, hey man, what are you doing? This is overcharging. Right. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
And so we're reading the procedures together. I'm like, all right, so you see right here, you can't paint the bumper if it's over this spot with the blind spot sensor. And if you got to take the blind spot sensor off, it has to get calibrated. Right. And it has to have an alignment before it goes to calibration. So that's why the alignment's on there.
Right.
And we just kind of went down it line by line, and we referenced the P pages or the manufacturer repair procedures. And at the end of the conversation, he was like, okay, yeah, I get it, man. That's crazy. You got to replace the whole bumper. I'm like, hey, that's what Acura says to do. That's not my opinion. I didn't write the book. I'm just reading it, man. He's like, well, sounds good, brother. Why don't you send it on into American National? I said, I will do. I'll let you know how that goes. And that was the one that I got this morning, paid in full, let the car go.
Nice.
Yeah. So it's the most important part is at the very beginning of a job. Somebody brings you their car, they sign the authorization, you do the minimal disassembly needed to write up a correct repair plan according to the OEM procedures. Call the customer when you're done and send them all the information that you have. They need to know every single thing about it before you proceed. They need to be 100% comfortable with what you're about to do to their vehicle and the charges that go along with it.
Right.
And they need to understand it all because it's their car, it's their claim.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's up to them.
Yeah. And it's their bill.
Right.
So let's go back to basic business. You brought us your car. Here's what it takes to fix it. Here's how much it costs. Do you want us to proceed? Do you want us to order parts? Do you want us to turn it into insurance? You, as Barrett would tell me, they bring you the eggs. You ask them how they want it cooked. So,
I like that.
Their car's there, and it's you got a proper damage assessment written up, and you're just waiting on them to tell you what to do next.
Yeah.
After they're educated on what needs to happen.
Right.
So the first part of that is the customer knows what's going to happen. You're being fully transparent. They're educated. They trust. You're building trust.
Right.
So now you bring the insurance company into the equation. They're going to look at this $5,500 bumper job and be like, yeah, we're not paying for that.
Right.
So when you get the little crummy supplement one in for like $2,000, they're going to call and be like, hey, man, they're sure missing a lot. I'm like, yeah, they sure are, aren't they? Like, well, what's missing? I'm like, well, yeah, it looks like they didn't do the calibrations and the tow and all these other things.
Right.
And the customer's like, well, that needs to happen, right? I'm like, yeah, we talked about it. They're like, yeah, we talked about it. I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Well, well, why don't you try to talk to somebody and see if you can do something? Hey, I'll do that for you, because we do that for the customer on their behalf.
Right.
Not our job to talk to insurance.
Right.
It's really not our job to talk to them. We talk to insurance companies on behalf of the vehicle owner.
Right. Now, what do you have to say to shops out there that are like, well, that's nice for you, but I'm doing $1 million a month.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to have my people go through it step by step?
I've thought about that. Man, I wish I had a great answer for you. Hire some more help, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, look, that's part of it. I mean, if you're doing $1 million a month, you're obviously doing really good. And I don't know if you're doing that, maybe you're not worried about insurance companies nickel and diming you, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, because I work with super small shops where it's just a husband and a wife. They literally do everything. And I work with shops that are doing $1 million a month with, 20 plus employees.
Yeah.
And I think it still comes down to scheduling your time. Like you were saying, you make an appointment for the adjusters when they come in. Same thing when you're that big, to schedule appointments for your guests when they come in so that they get the appropriate time. And I know a lot of shops will even schedule out time on the schedule for the estimator, the writer, whatever you want to call them, to write up the full estimate, to be able to get all the documentation. And so they are like not to be bothered during this time, so that they can do something along the lines of what you're talking about. So I think there's kind of like what you're talking about is, if you've got the time, you have the capacity, then ideally you would check all of these boxes. And it'll be interesting. Barrett's going to come on this podcast. We'll see what he has to say about it. But I think some people do levels of that, depending on, because we're all wearing 15 hats, trying to do a million things.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
So, so it'll be interesting to potentially hear from him. But I think ideally, you're right, though, is at all shops, no matter the size, the communication with the customer, with the guest, has to be number one, explaining to them the situation. And I love the thought of CCing them on all the correspondence, because I do think insurance acts differently. And I think the shop acts differently too. When there's a set of eyes on you, you're a lot more likely to stay calm, cool and collected when you know that the customer is watching all of the communications.
Yeah. The insurance companies really don't like that. When we do that, they don't like it at all, and they usually don't honor my request of copying the customer and further communication. And then I had one today. We were emailing back and forth just fine, and then I guess he just totally disagreed with something. He called me. Oh, he was just like blah, 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 blah. I was like, well, I record on my phone call, so that's cool, bro. But but they do everything they can to keep the customer out of the loop.
Yeah.
The good insurance companies don't mind. They don't mind at all. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, most insurance companies do not like it. But I mean, they can't stop me from copying the customer into a chain of emails, and then the customer can go back and see what the other party has said. Mm-hmm. So it's a daily battle when it comes to that.
It is, but I appreciate you coming on and sharing with people. Like I said, I get conversations, people asking me weekly on how do we, I don't want to say fight the battle, but it feels like a battle.
It really is.
What do we do? Where do we start? And I think you gave them a lot of great ideas for things that they can go do in their shop tomorrow, today, whatever is, get started and start looping the guest in, start going over, and I have been preaching education for as long as I can remember, but I think ultimately that's what it comes down to: education and communication. And at the end of the day, this isn't even a car business. This is a relationship business, because it goes back to what you said. The customer's trusting one side, then the other side, build the relationship, build the trust, and then you can repair the vehicle. So I think, there needs to be a succession of things there, and building the relationship, and not just with our customers, but also with the other people we're working with. And I understand it's maddening. I get it.
Yeah, but when it gets done,
yeah,
it's a lot of fun. It really is.
Yeah, like it's very rewarding.
When your vendors walk in and they're like, "Hey, what's up, man? Hey, what y'all doing?" And we're just having a big time. And it's just cool when you have a great relationship with everybody. Totally. Because you're just professional and you respect everyone. That's really all it is. And if they can feel that vibe from you because you actually mean it.
That's right.
Don't act like you respect somebody. Like freaking respect them. Like if you don't respect somebody, or if you're having trouble getting along with somebody, like that's probably more on you than it is them.
Possibly.
Because I mean, I've had a lot of adjusters get crappy with me, but I'm just like, I don't take it personally, man. Like, you want to call me tomorrow and like, can we like have a different conversation? Because I would really appreciate that, man. Like, can we try again, please?
Look at you, Walt. You should be teaching like some communications course. Not me. I can't help but get fired up.
Oh man, that's me and my wife are completely different people.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know how you deal with those people. I would blah 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 blah. Like, I guess that's why I'm the one running the shop instead of you.
Well, and and it's something that you have to practice. We practice it in our relationships at home with our spouses and our kids. It's something, that we got to take to work and practice. And it's hard, especially for those of us that have a little bit of a temper or more confrontational. But it definitely yields such huge benefit. And, and then I also do want to point out that, so Walt's in Louisiana, but if you guys have a question for him, if you're listening to this and you think that sounds good, or I have more questions about how one of those claims went, because I've got this claim, Walt would be more than happy to talk to you. I already got the okay from him.
Yeah, for sure. Find me on Facebook and everything too. Just freaking friend me on Facebook and just send me a message or call me or email me. I don't care, man. I love it.
I love it. And I'll put all your information in the show notes. So if you guys want to find him, it's just easy for you to access him. But we're going to let everybody go unless there's something else that I know there's a lot more we could have talked about, because Walt and I can talk forever.
I can't believe it's already over. Is it already over? It really is. Man.
Yeah, I know.
I guess we'll
talk another time. But for all of you out there, I think you got some great takeaways, some great information. I think everybody's out there really we're all trying to do our best. And I think if we just keep remembering that and just keep pushing forward, nobody's perfect. Mistakes happen. Just have a little grace for people, whether they're, no matter which side they're on, I think could be really helpful. But anyway, so we'll let you go. Walt's information is in the bottom in the description. And Walt, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you being so candid and sharing all of the goodies that you had for us today.
You're welcome. I had more goodies to share, but maybe next time.
Yeah, maybe next time. We don't want to give them too much.
I know. We gotta keep them one more.
That's right. That's right, Walt.
This is showbiz,
everybody. Baby. Yeah. And we will see you next time on Body Bangin'. Bye.
Bye.
If you enjoyed today's show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We have some incredible topics and guests coming your way you will not want to miss. If you are watching on YouTube and don't want to miss the latest and greatest, you'll want to hit the bell after subscribing, so you will get a pop-up each time a video podcast goes live. To our devoted fans, would you mind paying it forward and sharing this little gem with someone else you think may benefit from it? Much love from all of us here at Body Bangin', all things auto body.